Welcome back to Naval Action and episode 80 of A Letter to the King. If you're new to the series, A Letter to the King is my attempt to keep you apprised of what's going on PvP-wise on the global server, the server that never sleeps. Let's have a look at where we were last week, and if you recall, the pirates had begun to move into the shallows. The Americans had had a nibble. There'd been a couple of scraps over Nassau. The Brits had established a foothold at the most annoying port in the world with the stupidest shallows, Las Tortugas, and had had a go at Islamabad, only to be defended by the Americans. The Brits had also managed to pick up a few more ports along the sort of South American join here. The Danes were pushing into Haiti. The Cloggies had moved a fair bit along from their original points. The Swedes had grabbed up a few ports, the French were asleep, and the Spanish were consolidating along the north coast of Cuba. A lot's gone on this week. It's actually been a great fun week of naval actioning. Let's have a little scooch mahooch at the political situation. So at the moment, the Brits and the pirates are definitely at war. So are the Americans and the pirates. The Brits and the Americans have been banging on each other a bit, left, right and centre. But things have cooled off in the last couple of days. We'll get into that in a bit later, but I would describe this as a really aggressive non-aggression pact. A lot of open water biffo, but it does appear that the port battling has cooled down a little bit, and a little bit of port trading as well. And there's a reason for that, and we'll come to it shortly. I think we can probably say that the pirates and the Danes have some semblance of an alliance too, as there's been a bit of screening for each other going on, although small numbers, but nonetheless a little bit of screening. So let's have a look at where it was this week, and it's beginning to heat up now. There's 100 and... what's the number? Let me just remind myself of free ports left, white ports left to grab. There's 177, so almost half of the white ports have been eaten, and the vast majority of free ports are basically right around, you know, Texas and New Orleans area and all that sort of area. There's a lump down here in the Panama neck of the woods, and then there's a bunch over here. There's a few left in these islands, but they're getting gobbled up real quick. Let's have a look then at what happened this week. So we begin with the most important news, and that is that the Spanish are on a huge expansion, and they've moved into these little islands here, the shallow water islands just north of the Yucatan, grabbing up a couple of ports. Well done, El Davo. The Americans began to push in to the islands, and they grabbed up a real handful of ports around here. They also started working up the coast. They kicked the Brits out of Guacamole, although I'm of the opinion that that might have been a pre-arranged and agreed situation. And the reason for that is that one of the smaller British clans was thrown out of the British nation. No, they decided to leave and go pirate. Now, I mentioned this in my comments in discussion after last week's Letter to the King. There's this oddball situation in the British nation where perhaps a quarter of the Brits really want to ally with the Americans, and a quarter of the Brits really want to ally with the pirates and spank the Americans, and the other half of the Brits just want to bash everybody up. And one of the British clans, who held about 5 or 6 ports from memory, they decided that they would do the most dishonourable thing possible and unfurl the black, throwing the jack over the side of the ship. And I know back in Portsmouth there was much gnashing of teeth and whitening of knuckles at such a dishonourable exit. So that freed up a bunch of ports, Last Tort, Salamanca, and perhaps the most important one down here, Cartagena, where the Cartagena tar comes from, for the most overpowered mod in the game. It's also the most profitable port, and essentially the Brits that held onto it long enough, kicked all the other Brits out of packed and then allowed their pirate selves to take the port from themselves. So despicable behaviour, and really it's driven by the fact that what we have as far as warring parties on this server is we sort of have this triumvirate, this threesome, this unholy threesome, where you've got the Brits, the Americans and the pirates. Now actually to perpetuate war you actually always want three sides, because typically two will bang one and then eventually one will go to the weaker. You know, the famous Chinese dynasty wars were all based on three powerful factions biffing each other almost perpetually, until one of them finally usurps both of the others. So with a clan going from the Brits, VCO going from the Brits and becoming, I think it's VCSO. We've had a few guesses as to what the S could stand for. And they've joined the Black. So the Black have got stronger, the Brits have got weaker. And so it's on for young and old now. We'll see what happens with that defection, scurrilous defection. But it allows the guys who did go to get stuck into the guys they want to get stuck into. A little bit of freedom. I was chatting to one of them. He says he doesn't feel as though he's shackled to Mother England anymore, and always arguing the case that they want to do Operation X, and everyone else going, oh, I don't want to do that. So yeah, shenanigans. Now the pirates would entertain the Brits at Navasse. Now this was run up by the Aussies, probably the best looking clan in the game, and it was because we've always had a bit of a good fight with the Aussie pirates, but we were informed that the Aussie pirates have all gone off to play Ark or something rather weak and mind-numbing, and so we have agreed not to run up any of the main pirate clans apart from the scurrilous one in our time zone anymore. And this ended up actually being quite a good battle. It was, I think it was 18 on 15 in the end or something like that. We had 3 more ships, so the American pirates all woke up at idiot o'clock in the morning to try and help out the handful of Aussies that are still clinging on at La Navasse. But it was one of those battles, I think the Brits maybe sank 4 pirates to the 1 Brit that went down, something of that order. The ship losses were relatively small, but because the Brits had the advantage in numbers, they managed to grab up all the circles real quick. The pirates did try and do a cunning trick where only 3 or 4 of them jumped in at the start, and as the Brits closed in on them, the rest of the pirates all jumped in. But the Brits had good wind, it has to be said, in the port, and with a mortar brig snotting forts and being able to get ships into the other 2 circles, it was really over quite quickly, and with relatively few ship losses. I think there was a couple of explosions in there, but relatively few ship losses. So Navasse was freed from the hands of the Black. The Brits also got a foothold in Jeremy and Tiburon. And one of the things that happened when the Brits were trying to get to La Navasse, they were blocked, or they weren't blocked, but there was an attempt to screen by a handful of Dane players, and the Brits took umbrage at this, and then they hit the associate Danish port from the CCCP clan, who were the guys, there was 2 or 3 of them who were knobbing around, snagging the odd Agamemnon nom as it was heading to La Navasse. So the Brits went out for a bit of revenge and took St. Louis off the hands of the Danes. So the Danes were vanquished. We were then warned that we had woken the dragon, and we look forward to some fiery dragon breath. The Danes, however, did consolidate and started really snaffling up a lot of ports around here. They were doing a lot of work during the week. The Americans pushed into the islands, as I said, and they did try and have another go at Navasse. Where the pirates defended that with what appeared to be quite a good battle, but nonetheless the pirates managed to defend Navasse. And newsflash, the Cloggies have sailed 6 million kilometres and have grabbed up an island on Cuba. No one saw that coming, eh? Where's the open world hotspots? Well, basically, don't be an American, because all along this coast, it's probably the best open world biffo there is. There's pirates, Brits, and Americans all slogging it around with the odd Spaniard up and down this coast. We had some great running battles during the week, and spent most of our Saturday running away from an enormous American fleet. We were actually after some pirates, but we came through the corner here. We saw one lone American. We thought, oh, well, we may as well bash him in his wazzer. And he was at the front of like the fucking Mardi Gras. There was loads of Americans behind him in victories and ballonas and all sorts of things. There's still a bit of a scrap goes on around the pirate territories. And there's a few pirates that like to sail out of Banaka and cause trouble up around Brittown over here, or this enclave of British ports around here. But really, if you like your open world PvP, between Las Tort and where the reinforcement zone begins, it's on for young and old in this neck of the woods. Likely hotspots for next week. Well, you've got to imagine Cartagena's got to come under some stress. Haiti seems to be where a bit of fun between the Brits and the Danes, and at more sociable hours perhaps the pirates might take place. And then I'm thinking that, you know, the Bahamas is where it's going to be at. All these lovely shallow water battles. Everyone seems to love the shallow water battles. I'm thinking that's probably a likely spot for a bit of blood and thunder. And apart from that, that's the only stuff I can really predict. It's hard to say because, of course, it's really now down to individual clans as to where they go bashing. We shall see what else happens there. And just a little note, Naval Action Legends, the alpha was back up this weekend, and they certainly fixed a few bugs, and there seem to be a few more players on it. Now, for me, it's not where I want to spend my life. My life is in the open world, the MMO that is Naval Action, but due to the fact the stupid clocks have all gone back and the likes at the moment, downtime for us Aussies is absolutely abysmal. It's at 8 PM, it's 10 PM for the Kiwis, so they all go to bed, cuddle up with their sheep and get it on. But it's just a rubbish downtime, 8 PM. So with it being 8 PM, it's a great time just to jump on to Legends, or on a Saturday morning before the lads are awake for some biffing, and jump on for an hour and a half. And I must admit, I've had some great fun. We had a couple of 3v3s during the week. A few boys are getting better ships now, which is a bit nice. They've certainly ironed out some of the bugs from last week. The gameplay's not as twitchy, it's far smoother. The XP seems to be improved. So the Naval Action Legends is looking good fun. Now, I did notice I've put a video up. It's in my playlist if you want to have a look at Naval Action Legends. It's very much in alpha at the moment. I did stick a bit of a first look video up, and I noticed a lot of folks in the chat were like pretty grumpy that the devs were spending time on this and not on the open world proper. I have to say I hold a different opinion. I've been calling or saying that they should do a World of Warships type thing since I played Sea Trials, and basically because it'll be a money spinner. It's, you know, the World of Tanks, World of Warships business model where it's free to play and you can buy your premium. I know I've bought premium on both of them at different times. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the arena games. I get bored of them real quick after about 4 or 5 games because it's sort of a little bit meaningless, other than stroking your EPeen and looking at your win ratio. But it is good fun, and it's great practice for PvP. And the way they've got Legends at the moment, now I don't know if there's an officer perk or it's something you can do later on, but there's no repairs available, so it really does teach you to use all the armour on your ship and, you know, not wear a whole bunch of volleys on your left side and then just hit the repair button and sail away for 10 minutes. You really have to sort of preserve your ship, otherwise you get deaded real quick. So I'm not an enemy of Naval Action Legends. The arena games aren't my mainstay, but for dropping in for a couple of hours on a Saturday morning, or if Mrs. J says we're going out soon, which usually means in about 2 hours, it's something to do. And you know, I find that if I'm going to enjoy a session on Naval Action proper, then I really need a good lump of time to commit to it, like half an afternoon or something like that. And Legends gives me the opportunity just to bang in for an hour, you know. So where are we, I hear you ask, on the tally of splinters, sail and blood? Well, everyone's still going all right. Everyone's still grabbing up land, apart from the French, who've all gone to the other server. The Brits, well, they lost 5 ports when bloody VCO chucked chucked the toys out of the cot and went pirates. So the Brits are up only 4, but they've lost 5 ports as a result. The pirates, of course, have gone bazookas, and they're up 14, and I think they'll get the victory mark this week. So I've put the blue star of victory mark next to their name. The Yankee Doodles picked up another 6 ports, mostly in the Bahamas, but a couple around the Florida Keys. The Danes, despite losing a port to the Brits, still gained 3, mostly in their home area. The Spanish are growing like a rash as they pick up another couple of ports. The Cloggies have come over to Cuba to play with everybody else. Nice to see you. And the Swedes, that was actually at the end of last week. I don't think the Swedes did anything much actually this week. Clan-wise, the highly intelligent and good-looking armed clan are still top of the pops, but they're equal top of the pops now with the dirty pirate rats. 18 ports, that costs you about $1.5 million a day. A bit less for the pirates because they've got Cartagena, so it probably costs them about $1 million a day just to hold these ports, because they cost you about 100,000 each a day, and of the 18, only 4 of them will make a profit, and then it'll be piddling apart from the ones that have got the sexy time rare loots. The Danes are growing. They have 10 ports. The American clan Mars have 9. And our friends at Jeheil, one of the other British clans, they've risen up to 8 now and knocked VCO off the leaderboard. So that's the top 5 clans for you on Global. Been a good week on Global. Lots of biffing, good fun. Looking forward to next week, expecting there to be more. I think there's a little civility breaking out, making sure that we do fights at times that are a little bit easier for everyone to get involved in. Most of the clans are looking for a good fight. So that's it for this week's Naval Action. I hope you had as much fun as I did this week. There was a lot of biffo on, a lot of open water biffo. Plenty of port action stuff. We're beginning to fight each other in ports now. Even the one against the Danes. I was a bit disappointed that the Aussie Danes didn't come and help them like they said they would. And instead there was 5 of the CCCP lads. I think they're all Chinese, or mostly Chinese. 5 of them came in, brave buggers, against 18 of us. They all came in with fire ships. It was the night of much explosions. Anyway, that's it for this week's Naval Action. I'm signing off. Give us a like, give us a subscribe. I'll see you on the ocean, and I'll catch you.